All right. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, which is an introduction to our new quality and custom registers, which were released yesterday. But firstly, in the spirit of reconciliation, Practice Hub acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and the connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So first of all, welcome again. This is the first of 4 quick 20-minute webinars to launch the new modules on quality and custom registers. Well, why 20 minutes? Well, simply so that you have time to go away and try these for yourself if you haven't already done so. In today's webinar, I'm joined by Vanessa Law, who is our Head of Product here at Practice Hub, and I'm Anna Maria Gibb, the Product Adoption Manager. Now, just before we start, a bit of housekeeping. All right, I've got all my tech sorted here. Okay, whoops, hello. All right, if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat field. We'll be keeping an eye on those as we go through. And we are recording today's session, and a link to the recording will be sent to you afterwards. All right, Vanessa, could I ask you maybe to kick us off with some information about why we've created these and how did we get to where we are now?
Thanks, Anna Maria. I would be delighted to. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to keep this really short so we can make the most of the time that we have together. But what we wanted to really share with you was a little bit of background as to why we've created both quality and custom registers, and also to acknowledge the input that we've had and the feedback that we've had from you, our customers, either at pre-conference workshops, attending, sessions with us, and of course our early adopters who have provided invaluable feedback to us as we've been building these modules out. But why quality registers and why custom registers? We know that most of you probably use the manual today to record things such as incidents, feedback, and risks. And we've had numerous requests, particularly over the last 18 months, for could we actually freeze the top row in the table, in the page, because it was making it challenging to read. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to actually build a better experience for you to help you capture and manage feedback, incidents, and risks. So quality registers is really about how do we allow you, how do we enable you and support you in your quest for quality improvement across your businesses. Custom registers was something that came out of feedback that we got from customers, or actually more questions that were raised as we were starting to showcase some of the early ideas and designs that we had for quality registers. Quite a few people actually said, can we still use pages in the manual to capture things like hazardous substances or, training registers and those sorts of things? So as a result of that, we realized that there was a need to support you to capture other information that wouldn't necessarily fit within feedback, incidents, and risks. And as a result, we identified and came up with a solution that we hope you'll love, and it is called Custom Registers. And it is all about enabling you to create the registers that you need in the format that you need to capture the information that is important to you.
Excellent. And Vanessa, do we have maybe just a recognition of our early adopters who've assisted us with this?
Yes. So for everyone on this call, and if we do have any early adopters on the call, welcome. We made quality registers available to a group of customers that agreed to look at and provide feedback to us on quality registers. We started with quality registers at the end of January, I'd like to say, or beginning of February. We started to make quality registers available to early adopters. And the whole idea behind this is that, one, we get to make sure that what we're building is the right thing before we finish. It's to get that feedback and incorporate that feedback into our development process. So while we were still developing, people were providing feedback on what they were experiencing with quality registers. And probably about a month later, we then started to release custom registers as well to the same group of early adopters, again, for the process of capturing feedback, really understanding how people might actually start to use custom registers. Also, we could better inform what is now available to you that we released on Monday night for quality and custom registers. So we can't do this without early adopters. We can't do this without feedback and input. And we absolutely appreciate the effort and the time that people took to spend with us to ensure that we could actually deliver quality and custom registers for you.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's dig in. So today's session is an overview on both of those new modules. Tomorrow, we've got a webinar where we go a bit more deeper into quality registers. And then next week, we've got a session where we go a bit more deeper into custom registers. So think of today as kind of a high level, getting you started. Let's have a look at what's in there, and you can go in and have a look with a bit more information. So as you can see on the screen there, we're going to start with quality registers. So this is a module that allows you and your team to record and manage feedback, incidents, and risks. And for those of you in general practice in particular, you would recognise those as being some of the key areas that you need to be managing as part of your accreditation process as well. So all of these are easily recorded using the create ticket function, and there are easy forms in there. Something else that we've also added is the concept of tags, and they will eventually be extended to other parts of Practice Hub, but at the moment they're in the quality registers. So why don't I switch screens and let's have a look at what quality registers looks like first up. So a couple of things to note here. I'm on the dashboard, and you'll see first up there's a widget up the top here about my quality registers. So if there are tickets that have been assigned to me, I'll see that there. As an administrator in the platform, if there are any tickets that are new, that have a status of new, you'll also see those there as well. Now, when you're getting started, one of the first places you'll need to go is down here to settings. So what we're allowing you to do is configure a lot of the information in the back end so that it reflects the kind of language and locations that you have in your organisation. So once you get to settings, pop over here to the registers tab, and what you'll see here is some settings around locations, incident categories, incident types, risk categories, and feedback categories. Now, when you first log in, you'll see that we've created 2 or 3 for each of these for you. If they're not applicable to you, you can just click on the X and delete them. If you want to add others, because we don't know exactly what you call all the locations in your practice or your healthcare organisation, so you can simply click in and start typing here. So we might have the, the sterile, I can never write sterilisation. Maybe you've got a sterilisation room, so you can simply add that in. So this is completely customizable. And that same goes for all of these other categories. The other area that you can configure right at the start is tags. Now, once you've created tags, you can also create them on the fly, as we say, once you're actually in the quality register. But something to think about is to set some up now. And you can see here, I've got some that I've created in my test site. So if I've found, a complaint from a patient, that might end up being something I'd like to tag as a QI activity down the track. Maybe it's something I want to raise at the next meeting, an admin meeting or a clinical meeting. So I could make a tag called agenda item. I might want to quickly look through any tickets and see where do I think I might need to update policies and procedures. So I've got a tag for that, and so on. So you get the gist of how this all works. So step 1, have a look in the settings, the registers tab, and the tags tabs. All right. Over on the side menu, under registers, is where you'll find these new modules. Now, mine looks quite busy because when we come to talk about custom registers, you'll see the reason why I've got all these other names here. But the one you're looking for right now is quality registers. So if you click on quality registers, you'll come to the screen here. Now, in my site, I've created a whole lot of examples just to give you a feel for what it can look like once the information starts to be populated. You can see here different categories. This tab here collects all of them in one view, but otherwise you can have a look individually. So these are tickets for feedback, these are tickets for incidents, and these are tickets for risk. Other things you can see here, you can see those tags that I mentioned, and you can have more than one tag against an individual ticket. You can link straight in to see the details of the ticket. You can assign the ticket to somebody, and you can change the assignees right from this screen here. So everybody who is a user in Practice Hub, you can go in and you can change who they need to be assigned to. You can also change the status. So maybe this one is closed, and we can make that a closed ticket. And you can see other information as well. Does it require action? Has it been actioned? So this is information that's in here. Now, once we go into the actual tickets themselves, or let's look at creating a ticket, which you do from up here. We select what kind of ticket is it. It's a feedback. Let's do that first. Now, if you remember back in settings, I had various feedback categories, and those categories now appear in this drop-down list here. So in this case, I've chosen to have categories for complaint, compliment, suggestion, and team feedback. So you can simply pick the category. You can pick the location. Again, that list of locations that you set up in settings is populated here. You can put the date when it occurred. And here are the tags that I've created as well. So maybe, going to update the PNP. As I said, you can create tags on the fly. So we can create a tag as we go. And I've added that one immediately as well. And that will now populate and be in any list of tags. As you saw from the list view, you can assign it to people and you can check on the status. So today it's really just having a bit of a look. Your team can create these tickets. Now, something that's really important here is that anybody can create a ticket. And again, we'll talk more about that in tomorrow's session. But as you can see, it's a very simple process. If I go over to incident, it's pretty much the same on the right. Just the assessment panel down the bottom is slightly different. And similarly with risk, the assessment panel is a bit different. So that's pretty much how our quality registers work. So let's go back to our Vanessa, just checking. I know you've turned your camera and your mic off, but just checking in our very high overview before I switch over to our custom registers. Is there anything else I've missed that you think we need to highlight today?
I think a couple, just probably one or 2 points to raise, Anna Maria, is you'll see some additional buttons at the top of the screen here. You have the ability to set permissions for quality registers, and I know we'll take a deeper dive into that tomorrow. You also have the ability to export anything on this list view. So if you've actually filtered the list view, and we've actually got quite extensive filtering in this grid view, you can filter titles, you can filter tags, simply by clicking into the column headings, and you can then export the data out, which will export out into a CSV file that you can then open in Excel should you wish to. Those are probably the key things to flag, and I know we'll jump into more detail tomorrow.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you for that. And now let me go. So many bits of screens happening here. Whoops, here we go again. All righty. Okay, so we'll switch over to custom registers. So as Vanessa mentioned, when we talk to people about the quality registers, what also came out is that people like to collect information, particularly in the form of tables and things like that. So custom registers is a new way for you to be able to structure and organize that information. It saves you having to keep the information in other systems. So as a page in the manual, an Excel spreadsheet, tables in Word, those sorts of things. We've got a new way of assigning permissions for each of the registers. And once again, just like you saw in the quality registers, you've got that ability to do the filtering and sorting and also the one-click export function as well. All right, so let's have a look at how that looks in our site. So again, if you're under the Registers tab, go down to the very bottom and you'll see one called Manage Registers. And this is the starting point for your custom registers. Now, what we've done here is you can create your own register from scratch, or you can use a couple of templates. Now, one thing I think we know is that really you're limited by your imagination, and we know from the early adopters that they've created all sorts of custom registers. So we've just given a couple of templates to start with, but over time we may create some more depending on how you all sort of use it and what we can determine from that. So these are good ones to get you started, but otherwise if you want to create one from scratch, you can do that as well. So a couple of key things to mention here. Again, give your register a name, and I'm just going to call it test. And you can go through, God, typing's good today, isn't it? There's already some pre-configured people in here, but essentially when it comes to permissions, it's either view, edit, or manage. And if we're happy with those, we can continue. And essentially now, of course, if you haven't already noticed and logged in, we've got some lovely little product tours too that you'll be able to enjoy when you first log in. But at this point now, it's again over to you because there are many different types of columns. So if we were to use the user field, that will help you to actually quickly add users. So if I go into this, you'll be able to have a list of users. If we need a date field, you'll have a calendar option. If we want a yes, no field, we can do that too. Completed yes or no. So let's publish that. So if I go in here, I'm automatically, because I've assigned usernames to this, I can pick this person. If I've got a calendar, I can put the date in. Have they completed it? Yes or no? I've got a tick box. So as you can see, it's very simple to create the table, configure them using different types of columns, and add the information as you go. Now, you can see what happens down the side here. For those of you who would remember what used to be under registers, it was contracts, equipment, and insurance. So quality registers and all the custom registers that you create are now under that tab, and they're listed in alphabetical order. So that's an important thing to note, that when they all transfer, this one here is created, it's down here under T, but they're all listed in alphabetical order. We'll go into a bit more detail about types of custom registers, but you can see how easily or how many uses there are for these different types of registers. So an accreditation action plan is one example we've got in here as well. All right. Again, Vanessa, anything to add before we pop over to what's next?
The only point to make, Anna Maria, is similar to quality registers. You'll see that you can apply the same sort of filtering. You've also got an export button that you can see on screen. It works exactly the same way that it does in quality registers. And if you click the action menu, the three dots, you can edit. If you choose to edit for me, Anna Maria.
Yep.
Apologies.
Yeah.
You can see that permissions button there as well. So just like what we saw in quality registers, the experience is very similar here in custom registers.
Absolutely. All right. A couple of other things I know on our next slide that we have is things to highlight. As mentioned before, everyone can create a ticket, but administrators can configure the fields. So in that settings area. The other thing I think is really important to note, and I think is a massive time saver for all of you, is you do not need to go into the admin user settings and provision these modules for each user. We're moving away from that in this particular instance. So it is automatically available. The quality registers are, and then the custom registers, depending on the permissions you set actually in each individual custom register that you create. Very good. Vanessa, would you like to tell us about some features in development?
I would. We are still working on a couple of pieces at this point. One of the things that we are very excited to be able to bring to you, and it will be available shortly, is the concept of being able to scan a QR code outside of Practice Hub for quality registers. And really what we're trying to achieve here is allowing people that may or may not be staff to easily and quickly create a ticket. We want to really try and promote capturing information that's important straight into Practice Hub where it's applicable. So, for example, you may wish to have a QR code printed in your reception area, in your waiting area, and you might ask patients to scan that QR code and provide feedback. That may well replace paper forms and things that you ask people to complete today. The QR code, you'll be able to scan it, fill in a very simple form, and it will automatically create a ticket in Practice Hub for you. So again, Anna Maria showed you on the dashboard, you'll easily be able to see all the new tickets that come in. The benefits of the QR code is not just for, I guess, your patients and for capturing that sort of information easily, but it might well be useful to have a URL saved as a bookmark somewhere for possibly some of your clinicians where they can actually just browse, get to the URL that's saved, they can complete the form. And again, it will do exactly the same thing. It's all about how do we get that information into Practice Hub quickly and easily. It will follow the same sort of process. We anticipate that will be released within the next month. We are in the final stages of building that out, and you'll certainly be aware once we make that available to you. The other key things that we're currently still working on is the addition of quality registers and custom registers to the recently viewed widget on the dashboard. So at the moment, if you've been looking at any of the tickets and quality registers, or if you've been looking at any of the registers that you have created, they will not appear in recently viewed. That piece is almost completed as well, and we anticipate making that available within the next few weeks.
Excellent. Very good. All right. So now this information was in the email to you from last week. Also, I think if you have a look in the message board in your Practice Hub site, you'll see these details. But as mentioned, this is the first of 4 webinars. Tomorrow, we're going to go in for a bit of a deeper dive into the quality registers. Tuesday of next week, we're going to look at custom registers. And on Thursday, we're going to kind of wrap up the information that we've put together, answer any questions. I anticipate that once a lot of you start having a look, it will raise some questions. We'll work through that. And it's another opportunity for us to share what else is happening with Practice Hub. So you can get a bit of a sneak peek at what's coming over the next few months as well. All right, I think we're good to wrap up for today. So thank you very much for your time. As I mentioned earlier, a link to the recording will be sent out to you. If you want to submit any questions before these sessions, please feel free to contact us to do that. Otherwise, join the webinars and add your questions to the chat. But I think that's all for today. So again, thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope to see most of you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Anna Maria.
Thank you.